So I ran into this video by Tom Holland on men's health, and he shared what he eats in a day in order for him to be able to pack muscle and get into superhero shape. Now, Tom Holland is a British actor who is best known for his role in Spider-Man, and as a registered dietitian, I was pretty curious when I saw that he sat down with Men's Health to talk about his diet and training plan, especially after the video started like this. Let's take a look.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Tom Holland, and today I will be talking about my diet and how it informs my training.
Based on that clip, I was expecting a lot of takeout and a lot of high-calorie, meat-heavy meals, but I was actually pretty surprised by what Tom said when he explained what his day of eating looks like, and I think you might too. In this video, I'm going to take you through everything Tom Holland shared about his diet and fitness plan in this interview, from his go-to meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, to his supplements, to his favorite style of training. And as we watch this video, I'm going to give you my perspective as a sports dietitian on Tom's overall diet and whether this is an effective plan if you wanted to build muscle. So if you want to see what a Hollywood superhero's diet looks like and learn about the best nutrition strategy for putting on muscle, then you want to make sure you keep watching. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Andres, a registered dietitian with a background in sports, and I'm also a nutrition coach who helps men reach their health goals and get leaner and stronger without crash diets or unrealistic restrictions. So if you're looking for science-backed, non-BS nutrition advice, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. In today's video, I'm going to review the diet and training plan that Tom Holland, Spider-Man, uses to get in incredible shape for his movie roles. If you've seen any celebrities talking about their diets before, you might know that things can get pretty extreme with things like fasting, celery juice, a ton of different supplements, and very low calorie diets. But I was actually pleasantly surprised by what Tom Holland shared in his video, so let's get to it and watch his first clip.
My philosophy behind my diet is that my diet is far more important than what I do in the gym. I would say for me to see results, it's 80% diet and 20% fitness. Yeah, so dieting, I wouldn't call it dieting, but eating healthy is a big part of me staying in shape. I'm always trying to have a healthy amount of vegetables, and when I say healthy, I just mean a lot. My girlfriend's a vegetarian, which is really helpful because it means that more often than not, I'll be having a veggie meal. But yeah, I'm mindful about what I eat.
Okay, so let's pause there for a second and talk about what Tom had to say about the importance of diet versus exercise for seeing results. A lot of people think that they can eat whatever they want as long as they hit the gym hard enough. But the reality is that there's got to be a balance between training and your diet. Exercise is obviously important for your health, to build muscle, boost your metabolism, improve mood, among other benefits. But when it comes down to body composition, yes, training plays a major role, particularly with building muscle. I think the stimulus of training needs to be there, but nutrition plays just as equal of a role in this process. You might be able to build muscle if you're overeating, as long as you're getting enough protein, but you probably won't be able to see the results of that hard work, particularly when you're putting on a lot of fat in the process as well. On top of that, a poor quality diet can have negative effects in things like your hormones, your gut health, which will also make it very difficult to build and maintain the body that you want. And I worked with so many clients over my 12+ years as a dietitian, particularly pro athletes who were pushing themselves to the limit in the gym and training so hard, but they were always neglecting how important nutrition needed to be. Maybe eating too little calories because they were too afraid to gain body fat, or maybe eating way too much and not really prioritizing nutritional quality in the process. There's got to be a balance between the two things. And instead of relying on exercise to compensate for poor eating habits, a smarter approach is to focus on fueling your body with nutrient-dense foods while using exercise as a tool to build strength and endurance, and modify it accordingly to the goals that you have in mind. And of course, I love that Tom is putting big emphasis on vegetables and enjoying lots of vegetarian meals. I mean, there's so many nutritional benefits to that kind of dietary pattern, and I think that's something that's missed by a lot of guys who are trying to put on muscle because they get really focused on animal-based protein sources, particularly because there's so much talk about carnivore diets and things like that. Well, this guy's not doing that. Also, side note, I had no idea Zendaya was vegetarian or that she was even dating Tom Holland. But I'm also not a movie nerd, so what do I know? Okay, now Tom is going to go in through some of the specific foods that he eats, starting with breakfast. So let's take a look at what we had to say about that first meal of the day.
Typically for breakfast, I will have a bowl of porridge with a bunch of fruit and nuts, accompanied with a shake. The reason I do that is I like to get up early and I like to get the day started. And if I have to cook something, I feel like it really slows down the day. The berries give me a bunch of fiber, the nuts give me the fats that I need, and that I feel like sets me up for a great day. The carbs from the oats give me that nice long-lasting energy.
This looks like an amazing breakfast to me, and actually it's very similar to the breakfast that I personally eat almost every morning. Tom even goes through the nutrition benefits he's getting from each component, so that was great to see as well, but I'll reiterate why this is a great meal. The oats in the porridge or oatmeal, the oats are rich in fiber, particularly one type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan that is great for heart health and lowering cholesterol. The fiber content supports digestion, stabilizes your blood sugar so you don't get that mid-morning energy crash, and it keeps you fuller longer. From the notes, you got a dose of healthy fats and fiber and a ton of nutrients, and with berries and other fruits, you're adding even more fiber plus vitamins and antioxidants and some natural sweetness. The one thing that Tom doesn't mention is prioritizing protein at breakfast. But here's a clip from later in the video.
On a pretty steady flow of creatine and protein. I also take a protein shake in the morning, which is filled with all the minerals and vitamins that you need to be living a healthy lifestyle.
So that shake that he mentioned gives him the protein he needs, which is important for muscle growth, balanced blood sugar levels, and also staying full and satisfied throughout the morning. Now, I mentioned that I have something very similar for my breakfast, and that's overnight oats with nuts and fruit. But instead of having a protein shake on the side, what I like to do is mix the protein powder into the oats, and then that's the breakfast that I can prep really easily, and it's perfect for busy mornings and busy people maybe like you. I actually filmed a full video on my overnight oats recipe and how I prep all my breakfast for the week in under 10 minutes, so I'm gonna link that in the description. But overall, I say his breakfast is 10 out of 10. It's really nutrient dense, it's balanced, and it's so simple to make, to be honest. But now let's see what Tom's lunch looks like. Let's take a look.
Lunch, typically if I am not bulking, I'll skip lunch. I very rarely will eat lunch.
So this is interesting. For most people, I would not recommend skipping any meals. And the reason I say this is because of the impact it has on people's eating habits throughout the rest of the day. Often what I see is when people skip lunch, they get overly hungry and what happens is they end up overeating at dinner. And then often this spirals into continuing to eat more snacks after dinner because their body needs more food. I like to call this like the late night hunger trap, where you don't eat enough all day and then you end up overeating less nutritious foods at night because your body's just looking for quick calories. But as with any nutrition recommendation, there are always exceptions for different people, and Tom seems like he might be in this category. The best eating pattern for you totally depends on your body and your hunger cues. I even had a conversation with a client this morning who said, I don't really want to eat breakfast, I don't really feel like it. And I said, well, as long as you meet your energy requirements and the needs that you have for your goals on a daily basis, the way that you split that up throughout the day doesn't necessarily matter that much. Some people naturally don't feel as hungry in the middle of the day, and they just do fine with a later meal. The key is paying attention to how your body responds. If skipping lunch leaves you feeling sluggish, irritable, maybe ravenous later, probably not the best approach for you. Instead of following rigid meal rules, focus on tuning into your hunger and fullness cues and eat it in a way that keeps you feeling energized and good. I also want to touch on what he says about not skipping lunch when he's bulking. Well, if you're trying to put on muscle mass, that might be a situation where you need to be intentional about eating consistently throughout the day, even if you don't really get hungry between breakfast and dinner. The reason for this is that it's probably going to be hard for you to get enough protein and total calories in a day to build muscle only in 2 meals, especially if you're eating lots of vegetables and whole foods, which are filling. So if you try to pack all the calories you need into just 2 meals, you probably end up feeling massively stuffed. Try that. Trust me, it's so difficult, particularly when you're trying to eat healthy. If you're someone who's trying to add muscle mass, but you don't find yourself with much of an appetite throughout the day, one thing you can do is add in higher calorie smoothies around lunchtime, as this is a great way to pack an extra protein and carbs when you don't really feel like sitting down for a big meal or when you have a really busy day. Let's move on to dinner time and see what's on the menu for Tom.
And then for dinner, I'm so lucky. My brother Sam is a really talented chef, so he's been building all of these amazing recipes. So really every night I'm going over to my brother Sam's house and eating whatever it is that he's been cooking, which can range from sticky bao buns to a traditional roast dinner to, you know, a chicken Veronique. So it's very fun stuff. So that's what I've been doing recently.
So this clip doesn't really give us a ton of insight into exactly what Tom's meal looks like or what the nutritional breakdown might be, but there are a few things that we can take away from here. The first one is that Tom has a personal chef who is his brother. No, I'm kidding. But it seems like he's very flexible with the things that he's eating. Like while he's making efforts to eat healthy and get all the nutrients he needs, he doesn't really have strict food rules. He really seems to enjoy food. The second thing I want to point out is the variety. One of the benefits of getting a lot of variety of foods you're eating is that you're getting tons of different micronutrients that are going to support your gut health and ensure your body has everything it needs to function properly. When I work with really busy guys who are trying to lose weight, one of the things that I recommend to keep things simple is eating similar meals every day. But that does not mean that your meals need to be exactly the same. For example, if you always have oats for breakfast, you can get some variety by changing up the type of fruit or nuts that you use on top. If you're having a simple dinner of a protein source, let's say chicken, you can maybe stir in some fried veggies and rice and switch up the protein and buy different vegetables every week. And finally, there's so many benefits of home cooking when you're trying to lose weight or maintain your physique or even building muscle. Of course, I don't know exactly what Tom's brother is putting into the meals that he's making, but typically when you're looking at home cooked meals, they're going to be much lower in calories because they don't have all the added butter and oil that you'll find in most restaurant dishes. The majority of restaurants, especially fast food places, are pretty heavy on the added fats because it makes the food taste better, and they care a lot more about you enjoying your meal and coming back than they actually do of the health impacts of their food. On the other hand, when you're cooking from home, you have control over things like added oils and salt and high sugar sauces, among other things. This isn't to say that every home cooked meal is a healthy one, but in general, subbing out restaurant meals out for home cooked meals, it's a helpful habit if you're trying to stay in shape. Now let's talk about muscle building and how to do it. At the beginning of this video, Tom talked about his goal of putting on as much weight as possible and bulking up. This process can be especially difficult for someone with Tom's body type, for example. The idea of different body types, which are known as ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph, comes from the theory that suggests that people naturally have different builds and tendencies when it comes down to muscle growth and fat storage. Not everyone is going to fall completely into one of these three categories, and sometimes people will have a blend of traits, but it can be helpful to have an idea of what these three main types are. Endomorphs, for example, naturally carry more body fat and may find it harder to lose weight, but can build muscle fairly well. Mesomorphs have a more athletic muscular build and tend to gain and lose weight more easily. I fall into that category. And ectomorphs, which is the type that Tom falls into, are generally quite lean, with a fast metabolism which makes it harder to gain both weight and muscle. Because of this genetic tendency, Tom is going to have to put in a lot of effort when he's trying to add size, and he'll probably need to be very intentional about eating more calories. So let's explain the calorie piece of the muscle building equation. Most people who are trying to build muscle will need to be in a slight caloric surplus, typically 200 to 300 calories more than what they're burning every day. Along with calories, there's also going to be a major emphasis on protein in their diet, generally at least 1 gram of protein per every pound of body weight, because protein provides the building blocks your body uses to make muscle tissue. And of course, there's going to be other components like the training stimulus, which you have to train hard enough for you to create the conditions or the adaptations required for muscle to change and to grow. And of course, things like recovery, such as sleep and all the things that you need to do outside of the gym. I'm going to go through what Tom covers in this video as far as the bulking process and also share some of my recommendations, starting with the concept of cheat meals. Something Tom mentions, which I showed in a clip at the beginning of this video, is how cheat meals are actually really good for him because he's trying to put on muscle mass and he needs the extra calories.
So for me, a cheat meal is actually a really good thing. And yeah, I'm a sucker for an In-N-Out burger. I go for a double-double with raw onions. I don't like their fries. I don't understand why their fries taste like cardboard. So I'll go for 2 double-doubles with raw onions.
Now, I'm all for a burger now and then, but I personally don't love the term cheat meals, partly because cheat has a pretty negative connotation, and my goal is really to help people build a nutrition plan where they don't necessarily feel like they're cheating when they eat out at restaurants. But the other big reason I'm typically not a fan of these is because of a pattern I see all the time with people who are trying to lose weight, where they eat a very restrictive diet all week and then they have a cheat meal on the weekend that's basically just a binge because they feel like they have been so deprived through the week, eating things that they honestly didn't really enjoy. However, from the way that I'm hearing Tom talk about food, it doesn't sound like he's being overly restrictive or that he sees meals out as something bad. So I don't really think that there's an issue if he has an occasional higher calorie meal out or he wants to call it a cheat meal. As he mentioned, this can actually be a good thing for someone who's trying to put on weight but struggles to get enough calories. Based on this video, I don't really know how often Tom is going for In-N-Out burgers, but in general, even if you're bulking, you still want to aim to get the most amount of your calories from home-cooked, unprocessed foods because that's what's going to be most beneficial for your overall health. So eating some fast food meals is totally fine, but most of the time I recommend finding ways to add extra calories to each meal throughout your week, rather than using fast food as a consistent way to bump up your calorie intake. Some ways that you can increase calories from whole foods include adding healthy fats like avocado and olive oil and nuts and nut butters to your meals, since fats are calorie dense and easy to incorporate. Increasing portion sizes of nutrient dense carbs like rice, pastas, oats, regular potatoes, which will also provide more energy to fuel your training during sessions. Drinking your calories in the form of protein smoothies, which maybe with fruit and healthy fat sources blended in. Maybe including more frequent snacks like trail mix and cheese with whole grain crackers and hummus with pita or other things like that to increase the overall intake without feeling overly full. Small adjustments like this can help you hit your calorie targets in a more balanced way without relying too much on fast food. Next, let's see what Tom has to say about supplements.
I take supplements depending on my fitness goals. So right now I'm on a pretty steady flow of creatine and protein. I also take a protein shake in the morning, which is filled with all the minerals and vitamins that you need to be living a healthy lifestyle. Yeah, that's kind of about it right now.
Okay, so literally just protein and creatine. This is actually pretty refreshing because I've seen a lot of celebrities, what I eat in a day videos, where they're heavily relying on supplements. But it looks like Tom is getting most most of its nutrition from whole foods. Protein and creatine are definitely the two main supplements I recommend when you're trying to put on muscle. In fact, I've made videos about creatine specifically. As I mentioned, protein basically gives your body the raw materials it needs to build muscle, and creatine helps increase strength, power, and muscle endurance. It's been studied and proven to be safe and effective for building lean mass when combined with resistance training, and there's a bunch of other benefits on cognitive health as well that aren't even talked about much. Now, the final key piece of the muscle building puzzle is training. Let's see what Tom has to say about his training regime.
Spider-Man 3, Jack, who's a mate of mine, and Duffy, who is our trainer, we just really got into CrossFit. I'd never done it before, and I just really loved the kind of competitive edge of it, setting goals, trying to beat your personal best. I really enjoyed that, and we got very fit for that job.
If you happen to follow me over on Instagram, you might know that I'm a huge fan of CrossFit for many of the same reasons that Tom mentioned. It's an amazing way to improve your overall fitness, both strength and conditioning. But you might be wondering whether it's the best type of exercise to put on muscle. This might be a bit controversial, but stay with me here for a minute. In my experience, CrossFit can help you build muscle, especially for beginners, but it's not the most efficient way to bulk up compared to traditional hypertrophy-focused strength training. CrossFit workouts typically combine high-intensity circuits, Olympic lifts, and endurance training, which can improve overall strength, power, and conditioning, but because many workouts emphasize high reps, lower rest periods, and a mix of cardio, they may not give you the progressive overload and muscle-specific volume that is needed for increasing muscle mass, and I talked about this in previous videos. If your goal is to bulk up, you'll likely get the best results from a structured strength training program that prioritizes progressive overload, heavier weights, and moderate rep ranges, so around 8 to 12 reps per set. Now, again, that's just a very generic recommendation. Of course, there's different ways in which this can happen. That said, the best exercise for you isn't necessarily what is optimal. Tom talked about how much he enjoys CrossFit, just like I do. So I would rather someone do a workout that they enjoy versus forcing themselves to exercise in a way that feels like a chore. If you want to build muscle, you will have to engage in some kind of resistance training. There's no way to get around that. But you don't have to do typical bodybuilder style workouts if it makes you hate going to the gym. So those are my key takeaways when it comes down to putting on muscle. Now, before we finish, I want to show you one final clip from Tom's interview where he talks about the extreme diet that he followed to lose weight for a couple of previous roles.
The hardest thing I've done in terms of dieting for a role is somewhat a contradiction to what I've been saying throughout this interview, but I cut as much weight as I could for a film called Cherry. Incredibly proud of that movie. It's one of my favorite and best experiences I've ever had as an actor. I was trying to keep below 500 calories a day. I was working out like a crazy person. I was dropping weight really quickly. I then did it again for a TV show called The Crowded Room, and I've kind of vowed to myself now that I'll never do that again, just because it's not worth it, and it can actually promote quite considerable health concerns down the line. So I wouldn't do that again.
Tom makes some great points here about the dangers of low-calorie diet, and I think it's really important that he mentioned this. Eating an insane low-calorie diet like the 500 calories per day that he mentioned, along with over-exercising, can cause some serious health issues. And if your goal is weight loss, this is not the way to make that happen sustainably. I'm hoping that you got that out of what he had to say. That brings us to the end of today's video, guys. Overall, I really enjoy finding out more about Tom Holland's diet, and I'm a big fan of his approach to nutrition. Also, I'm a huge movie nerd when it comes down to superhero movies. In fact, I am Team Marvel. Not sure about you, but really his approach to nutrition it's flexible, it's realistic, it's designed to suit his goals. And the things that he mentioned, like 80% of his results being from diet and 20% from exercise, eating plenty of vegetables, enjoying occasional meals out, focusing on protein, finding exercises that are enjoyable, those are all things and are recommendations that I give pretty much everyone. When it comes down to building muscle, I'll summarize a few main takeaways. First, you want to focus on eating in a slight calorie surplus, which is about 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight. To minimize fat gain, you need to keep processed foods and excessive sugars in check while emphasizing whole nutrient-dense foods. When it comes down to training, prioritize strength training and use progressive overload, meaning you should gradually increase your weights or reps to challenge your muscles over time. And finally, you can't forget about recovery. Getting enough sleep, manage stress, and allow some time for muscle to repair to get the best results and avoid fat gain. If you're looking to gain muscle right now and you're struggling to get there with the info you piece together online, quick shameless plug in here, the work that I do with clients is all about doing stuff like this, helping high-achieving men get shredded without sacrificing time and energy. And to help you get started in that process, I put together a free masterclass that breaks down the 3 steps that you need to take not only to get the weight off in 12 to 16 weeks, but also build muscle and achieve an incredible physique, just like a lot of our clients have accomplished. The link to that is in the description if you want to check it out. That's all I have for you this week. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to my channel to see all my future videos coming out every Wednesday at noon Eastern. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.